Hey guys, Saga here, and in today's video we're going to look at some Grandmaster footage from around the 4,000 to 4,100 range. This was sent in by a Swedish team. All these players are very good, they coordinate together very well, and this is from one of their scrims. So he actually sent me a whole bunch of replays, of which I think like 6 or 7 of them I've watched, and in them are some really amazing moments, some really clutch games, some great decision making, and some subtle mistakes. But the game we're looking at here today was not one of his better games. In fact, this is probably the worst game I watched, and I thought that it would be a good place to start. Errors like this can be insidious and even follow you all the way up to Grandmaster, so it's a good idea to correct them when you spot them. So I'm gonna start from the smallest of his fundamental mistakes, and that's what this video is gonna be about, and then in the future we'll look at really subtle mistakes. I also think that this is probably one of his earlier games, because viewing his later gameplay with Roadhog, he clearly got much better. The player in question, his name is Lafayette, he mains DPS, but in the current 3 tank meta, Roadhog is fulfilling a DPS role, so he's on Roadhog. Alright, let's get into the match.
And if this mirror was actually reflected.
Alright, so the first thing I see is this positioning error. He's moving a little bit too far forward, and as a result, he could die from an enemy Roadhog hook, which they do have. It's just an unnecessary risk. This is a fundamental mistake that even the best players make. He's not counting his shots. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4 in your head, you'll never make this mistake. So this is an interesting moment because his mistake is not throwing the hook at Hog first. In a team fight like this where you have people backing you up, when you hook a Hog, the idea is your whole team's going to kill him. So Hog versus Hog dueling rules no matter apply. In a team fight versus team fight situation, hooking first is actually better because your team will kill the Hog for you. The problem was he kind of delayed his Hog call out till way after the Hog was already retreating. It was when he was already pulled in, and then he said Hog. People need time to react, and if you don't say it as you're throwing the hook, they're not gonna have that time. Alright, this Reinhardt hook is a good decision. He can't heal, he's got a side to you, throw the hook, finish him off. But what follows is a fundamental mistake I see a lot of people make. You need to make sure that your direct crosshair, the center of it, is on whoever you're shooting at. It's not good enough just to be knocking them around with your special. It does so much more damage when it's centered, when it's precisely aimed. Alright, so you as a human being, unless you're really on point, really feeling the adrenaline, aren't going to have the reaction time to have your hand loose on the mouse and then run around that corner and hook somebody instantly. That Soldier 76 only appeared for a second. However, if you peek around that corner with the intention to hook and you start putting pressure on your button, for me, this is my hook. So I would start putting pressure on my thumb, so if I see even movement at all, I'm just reacting to the movement. He definitely could have made that hook, and the way that the 76 moved, because he had the momentum of running still, he would have hit it. He wouldn't have been able to avoid it if he tried. Let anticipation compensate for our flaws in reaction time. Just a missed opportunity. Alright, so this is a really good decision. There's no one healing or helping this Reinhardt. He decides to double melee instead of shoot. It saves him ammo and it allows him to walk back up to kill the other guy. I don't think I would have done that. I think I would have just blown my shotgun blast, and there is an argument for that, but I actually like that he just double meleeed. He probably did the first melee thinking he was gonna die, realized that he didn't, and then decided to do the double knowing that it would be death regardless. And that's good decision making. Alright, this would be an excellent Hog pull if there was a team to save still, but everybody else on his team, with the exception of a Lucio, is dead. I don't necessarily think a Lucio is worth a Roadhog, just 1 for 1 with nobody else up. Obviously having a healer is good, but if there's no one to heal, kind of is a less valuable piece, right? So he walks up behind him and decides to hook him out of his special. If you're Roadhog versus Roadhog in a duel and you hook first, you're going to lose. And this would be a dueling situation for him, and that's what winds up happening. What would have been better if he got a little bit closer, sweet spotted with his right click, then threw the hook, then left click melee, and he should be able to finish him off if he pulled off the sweet shotted shot right. However, just to play devil's advocate to myself, if his decision making was instead to just die, which it might actually have been because the rest of his team was dead, and that would probably be around the first time that he realized that, then that was a good move, because he pulled the hog in, the hog got to kill him quickly, and he went back to spawn with the rest of his team. And if that is your line of thinking, pulling would be the right thing to do, because maybe your Lucio can speed away in the time that you bought for him. Yeah. Alright, so this is an interesting hook mess. He obviously intended to jump there and just didn't hit it at the right time. Maybe started falling. Maybe he like pulled back on the hook and then like fell off as he hit jump, so his character didn't jump. But if he would have jumped and then thrown his hook straight at a straight line and not down, he would have made that hook. It's important to throw it straight, because if you throw it down at all and it collisions with anything, it's going to come back to you. And the way that that box is set up, it's like right here at his chest level, so you want to throw it straight so there's no chance that it collides. And as long as the hook lands in the general area above the Reinhardt's head, it's going to grab him. Let's actually take this as a segue to look at his hitboxes for a second. Alright, so this is just a little bit too high, but not by much. And this is just perfect. I like to think of Roadhog's hitbox like a rectangle. So it's kind of like this, except I'd say it cuts off about here. The important part about conceptualizing it like a rectangle is that you can always aim above your target. So if your target jumps a lot, just simply throw it above where he would jump, and it will still hit him whether he's on the ground or not. This is especially important if you're hooking people who are no longer visible on edges. If you throw it above the ledge, just slightly, the bottom part of the rectangle will hit. It's important that you don't collide with the ledge, because then you'll retract. So just keep it in mind, always throw it a bit higher than you would think, and that's about where it should be. Okay, this is two great examples of the same mistake. The maps have subtle features that have collision detection on them. So things like that cactus or that fence. Both of those have collision detection, and he's throwing his hook without taking that into account, and that is a mistake. Second your hook hits collision, it comes back. Easy to fix, just be more aware. Another time he forgot to count shots. I personally like to reload after firing 3 shots, and here's why. Sometimes while you're reloading, you should be doing the reload to eat combo, right? The eating cancels the lag from reloading, which allows you to both get the benefit of the reload and the benefit of eating. However, there are some instances where you will be reloading, but then all of a sudden need to eat urgently, and instead of getting the reload, you'll have to cancel into directly eating. If you do that and still have a bullet in your chamber, you can then hook and kill somebody. And if you don't, then you're just stuck reloading afterward, which is horrible. Alright, this is a really interesting move. He properly moves forward after taking the point. He's looking for something squishy to pick off. But he gets a little bit of extra information in that he can see through the wall. What do we know right here? We know that there's a Reinhardt and a Roadhog going up on the elevator. So that means that the enemy team wants to take the upper position. He reports this through communication, which is good. This is the bad decision moment, though. He pokes around that corner hoping to grab somebody to throw the hook. But if you look behind him afterward, there's no real team around to support him. The Reinhardt does ultimately end up coming out one of the doors, but I don't think he was aware of that at the time. He's making a fundamental mistake that only really good players would make, and that's the assumption that your team's going to be behind you. He extended just a bit too far forward without taking into account his team's position. Yeah, that Reinhardt ran out of that door afterward, but his team was too far away to save him if those two jumped down to take care of him. And if he hooked one of them, I guarantee you the other would have supported. I thought I'd end it with a moment of really good play. He does a great job here of landing his ult, hitting the right people with it, and then following up with hooks afterward. The real problem here, though, is he's making that same mistake from earlier. He's not centering his cursor. It obviously didn't matter in this fight, but it will matter in many fights in the future. So remember, when you're ulting, you need to try your absolute best to control that gun, to keep the cursor centered on someone the whole time. I make this mistake constantly too, so does everybody else, but you can get more damage out of it. And when you're trying to min-max a character, these are things you want to consider. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The second part's going to show a lot of this exact same player's much better play, and it's going to look at really subtle mistakes in really good games. So it's going to be those games that you play so well in that it's hard to find the mistake. It's hard to find something that you can improve upon. We're looking for things like that, and we're also going to be focusing more on the macro picture. This was much more about micro things, like things that you can do as a Roadhog that would help your just general play. But the future video is going to focus more on team movements, things like that, and subtle mistakes. If you guys are new here, I make Overwatch content, Hearthstone content. I just launched a new show called Appreciating Gaming, where we look at subtle aspects of games that make them really stand out in our minds. I vlog, I do all kinds of things, I travel the world. If that sounds cool to you, go ahead and subscribe. If you guys would like to check out some of my other content, here's a link to my latest Overwatch guide, and down here you can find my new show, Appreciating Gaming. Check out episode 1. Also, would you guys be interested in me evaluating some of your games and talking about mistakes and also things that you do exceptionally well? If so, tell me about it in the comments. I'll see you later.